All right, welcome back. Let's talk a bit of football. The 2012 Africa Cup of Nations got off to a magnificent start on Saturday. Co-host Equatorial Guinea won the opening game 1-0, and the squad is indeed $1 million richer. But the biggest upset of the night came when Senegal lost 2-1 to Zambia, one of the less popular teams in Group A, so to speak.
Zambia's win against Senegal has put them in the lead of Group A.
All right, let's get you more on this. In the studio, we have E-News Africa's senior producer, Kaniso Kalani, chatting to us about last night's opening games in the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations. Kaniso, welcome to E-News Africa.
Thanks, man.
Let's talk about what Equatorial Guinea did. They are $1 million richer. How far do you think this team can go in this tournament?
Geez, it's not easy to say. I mean, they did well yesterday, opening it up, winning.
In the 87th minute.
87th minute. I mean, it was an incredible game. And, of course, they attacked Libya right from the start. Can they go far? With the home crowd, you never know. You know, they did well yesterday. Many people had their doubts. I had my doubts about them. But they came out and attacked yesterday. And, frankly, Libya were lucky to concede just the one goal.
Okay, let's talk about Equatorial Guinea in depth. Now, they have a Brazilian goalkeeper. They have a Liberian on the team, and have a couple of Cameroonians on the team. Is this the future of African football, getting mercenaries, so to speak, from other countries to boost the squad up?
It will continue to happen as long as, you know, we don't produce better players here in Africa. You know, teams like Equatorial Guinea, they're going to go out and try to hunt talent, so to speak. I mean, you got Badipo, their captain, who limped out of the game yesterday. He's not really an Equatorial Guinean. Ivan Bolado, I've seen him play in Spain. As long as we don't concentrate on developing players and nurturing our own, that's what will happen.
All right, the big surprise of last night, Senegal goes down to Zambia. What's happening in Group A? What's the future of Group A?
Future of Group A. Well, look, yesterday Zambia deserved to win. Senegal were simply outplayed. You know, Senegal have the big reputation, but are they as good a team as people are saying they are? I'm not so sure. You know, they do have decent players. Suleiman Diawara at the back, got the Demba Bars up front. But you know, I felt Zambia showed, you know, as big as your reputation is, it's not how it's how well you play on the field. And frankly, Zambia outplayed them in an attacking sense. Chris Katonga pulling the strings. So Zambia have a good chance of progressing. You know, talking about how far they can go in Group A. I think they have a very good chance. They play Libya now. They win that game, they have a very good chance of going through.
What does this mean for Senegal? There were high expectations for Senegal. Some people expected them to win it all. Where does Senegal go from here?
Well, look, it was a kick up the backside they needed. You know,
you think it's a wake-up call?
It is, and you know they still have a chance. I mean, 2 wins get them through to the next round. So still, I would still say probably they still shaded as favorites over Zambia. You know, they with the squad they have, you would say Equatorial Guinea and Libya shouldn't pose real problems for them, but definitely Zambia have thrown a spanner in the works for them.
Okay, speaking of high expectations, the Ivory Coast, we're expecting a lot from them. Would you say they are lucky to walk away with a 1-0 win over Sudan?
Yes and no. You know, they were probably on the balance of play deserving of the win, but Sudan did hit the crossbar. You know, they did have a chance where they hit the crossbar just before halftime. Yeah, look, Ivory Coast, it's the golden generation. Everyone expects them to win something, but the fact of the matter is that this could be the last chance saloon for many of this so-called golden generation of theirs. So, you know, it's a tournament that they've got to win.
But how do you assess Ivory Coast going forward? Remember, this is a team of international stars, plus they have the current African Football Player of the Year versus a Sudan team made up of only local players, and they can only walk away with a 1-0 victory?
Well, look, assessing their chances, of course, they've got a great chance of winning this tournament. They're good enough. However, I'm always worried about their ability to be a unit at the Ivory Coast. They've got great individuals, yes, there's no doubt about that. Your Didier Drogba's, Solomon Kalou's, Yaya Toure's, like you pointed out just now. But as a unit, they always concern me. I mean, in the World Cup as well, there are games where they had the individuals, but as a unit, I wasn't totally convinced by them.
All right, Kanye, so let's leave it right there. That was Kanyisa Kolani, our E! News Africa sports producer, talking to us live in the studio. And more news from the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations in Equatorial Guinea. Zambia, coaching.
Yeah, their problem is they had Dario Bonetti, and he helped them qualify for the tournament. And now all of a sudden they changed, and they brought in Hervé Renard in October. And for me, it goes back to what the FIFA president said a while back, that, it's an African tendency to employ coaches, just a few weeks or a few months prior to a major tournament. And that has always been those specific teams' downfall. I think Zambia has a good team, but I think their downfall could be the fact that they hired Hervé Renard very, very late.
All right, let's move on to Senegal. The best attack in the tournament. Expand on that.
Absolutely. They've got Demba Ba there, the Newcastle striker. They've got Papis Demba Cisse. They've got Nhoye there. They've got Moussa Sow. They've got a lot, man. If on paper, they've got the best attack in the tournament. But the challenge is proving it in the tournament, in the actual tournament, that we actually have the best attack, And they've got some experienced players as well at the back. They've Omar Daf, who's their captain as well. So they seem like a pretty balanced team. And on paper, they should easily win this group. And in my view, I think they can actually go on to reach the final of this tournament.
Whoa, hold on there. All right, let's talk about Libya. They're making their third appearance in Afcon, and they're dominated by local players. All right, the subject matter here is they are the surprise of Group A.
Yeah, it's actually a surprise that they qualified, looking at the fact that, there was war in their country, and they had to stop the league at some point, and they had to play some games outside the country. So, yeah, I think coming into this tournament, for me, I don't think they can make the second round. I think they don't have, maybe their preparation was flawed in some way, because they were not able to play their games while there was war in their country. So I think for me, that could prove to be their downfall, that maybe the war came at the wrong time for them.
All right. Now, Equatorial Guinea, the only heading can be $1 million. Very little is known about this team. They're ranked 155th in the world by FIFA. $1 million.
There are a bunch of unknowns, But when this money comes into play, it changes the whole scenario now.
So the government is offering them $1 million should they win tonight.
From this one match, from the president's office, he offered this to the players. But we have to look at the fact that most of their players are playing in Spain and in the lower leagues, and they have a player in Colombia, they have a player at TP Mazembe, Kangamea. But for me, in my language, we say something along the lines that a crocodile's strength lies in the water. And now they're playing at home.
Okay.
And I expect them to put up a fight.
All right.
To actually to at least qualify for the second round. But $1 million, this $1 million US dollars on offer, I think it's enough for them to win tonight's match.
That's a great incentive. All right. I'm going to put your head on the chopping block. I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
Yeah. We
need a bold prediction from you. Tonight, Zambia versus Senegal, who wins?
I think Senegal will win. I think maybe if I have to put a score to it, maybe 2-0. I expect Demba Ba there to score. I expect maybe Cisse to help him out as well. And for Equatorial Guinea and Libya, I expect Equatorial Guinea to win. Because of this money on the table, you don't want to lose out on that.
All right, you expect Equatorial Guinea to be $1 million richer after tonight's show. All right, well, there you have it, folks. We have Tiana Mabasa live in the studio reporting on Afcon. Tommy Mashlaudy, thank you for joining us in the studio. You are our Afcon expert. We've got a couple of questions for you, in fact. First of all, Tommy, the big guys are out. The big teams are out. Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa, and, of course, Egypt. Will this be a tournament to remember?
This will certainly be a tournament to remember, if for nothing else for the fact, as you just mentioned, that all the top guns are not in. We saw through qualifying that some of the big names, or the traditionally so-called big countries in Afcon tournament, failed to deliver where it mattered. We saw with South Africa, they didn't qualify, of course, because of that big debacle with misunderstanding the rules. Egypt, of course, because of the Arab Spring and the revolution that took place, can't really be blamed for not performing on the field. But with Nigeria and Cameroon, they've got some of the biggest stars in the world, some of the biggest names in European and world football, and the fact that they didn't make it really just shows that there was a lot of lack of performance and a lot they were misfiring in front of goal.
All right, Tommy, let's get straight to the point. In your opinion, has African football progressed or regressed since the Giants are out of the tournament? They should have stayed in the tournament. They should have qualified. So can we get any indication about the progress of African football?
I would say that African football has actually progressed, because you used to have a situation where you'd have the so-called big guns versus the minnows, and every tournament you could almost predict with your eyes closed how it would finish, who would be the top three would be. But now you're finding teams like Botswana qualifying before everyone else with a high points average, 17 points out of their qualifying group, and that just shows that the gap is certainly closing as more and more players get exposed to better facilities, to better training methods, to better development. That shows that the gap is certainly closing, and therefore you don't get any more big teams, so to speak.
But Tommy, in your opinion, don't you think the big giants like South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Cameroon, they should have maintained their dominance over African football, and that would indicate progress?
Well, I agree with you to a point there, Richard, because if you look at a country like South Africa, with all the resources that it has, I mean, it's a shame that it wouldn't have qualified, even though it didn't qualify under very embarrassing circumstances where people misread the rules or whatever it was. But compared to a country like Botswana, which has a fraction of what South Africa has in terms of resources, certainly it's no excuse for them not to have qualified.
Okay, Tommy, who are your favorites in this tournament?
My favorites in this tournament, I have to say, I'm going with the minnows. Botswana, Niger, Sudan, and Libya. I mean, these are some of the teams that I'm touting will be giant killers, the giants that are remaining in the tournament, of course, and I think they'll give a good account of themselves in the tournament.
Okay, if there's going to be a big surprise in this tournament, which team would it come from?
That's a very difficult one. I'll have to say the dark horse for me here would have to be Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah, because I would say Cote d'Ivoire, the dark horse, because, you know, everyone is sort of putting them up as favorites. But I think with the competition being as stiff as it is, you have Zambia to look out for. It's not going to be as smooth sailing as everyone would expect it to be, but I think they've got the character, the big match temperament, and they're the ones that, even if they have a shaky day at the office, they're going to pull through.
Well, there you have it.